Hello everybody and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as J-Monster, and I'm back! Yes, it's true. My channel is not dead. I've just been really busy, so I've finally come through the dark tunnel that was my last semester at university. Well, not my last semester, but my latest one. And, yeah, I've pretty much just got exams in front of me, so we are back with Caesar and Gaul. I believe when we left off, Caesar was besieging one of the main cities of the Suessones, as all of them came home from defying the Roman army, the indecisive little skirmish that was fought between the Roman army and the united tribes of the Belgae. And yes, so I believe it's the Suessones. So they come up and they see their town besieged by Caesar's forces, and they realize that they are completely hooped. So they plead to Caesar to allow them to retain their lives, essentially. And so Caesar, graciously accepting their surrender, he takes the leading men of the Suessones as hostages, as well as two of King Galba's own sons. And I believe that King Galba was the supreme commander of the Belgae war effort against the Roman army at the previous little indecisive skirmish that I just spoke of earlier. And so Caesar marks next upon the Belvaci themselves, who are the largest and most powerful of the Belgic tribes. And these guys they retire with all of their belongings into the fortress of Bratus Pantium. So we'll return to that in a second. We're going to take a quick look at the battle here. So we are being assaulted by the German tribes, and we are kind of screwed. There's two huge armies facing off against our understrength troops here. So about half of our cohorts have taken some pretty heavy casualties, so we are in trouble. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to surround them here. We've placed our cavalry in the woods. We're breaking them. We are breaking their right flank here. We're going to send our cavalry in there to seal the deal. They're going to run these guys down. Unfortunately, they do take a fair amount of casualties, just like killing routing soldiers, because routing soldiers will turn around and fight you like normal soldiers when they're engaged, which I think is kind of stupid. Because there's really there's no penalty really for them routing, in the sense that they'll still fight units. And your units will take casualties trying to run them down. You just can't control them, so I think that's kind of crappy, but what can you do? So we have broken that right flank here. Excuse me. There we go. Apologies. So we've broken the right flank here. Their troops are all rushing in, and they're blobbing up, so we're going to be able to surround them. We're trying to protect the rear of our legionaries here from these horsemen, but they are going to get a charge off at the same time as these lancers come in. So they're actually going to take a lot of casualties in the unit, and that is not good for us. So we've managed to run those guys down with our horsemen, and we're going to send our horsemen into their skirmishers here, who are dealing a lot of damage to us. Yeah, we're not going to fight that unit of macemen that managed to turn around and rally. We're gonna run our troops right here into their skirmishers. We're gonna get rid of them as quickly and efficiently as possible. And I'm not microing our skirmishers very well. I think our skirmishers actually might be shooting our horsemen. Yes, they are. They are, in fact, shooting our horsemen. So I'm screwing up a bit here. Our horsemen take some pretty unnecessary casualties, I think. But that gives us the opportunity to throw our horsemen into the backs of all of these spearmen here, which they start to rout really quickly. But as I said, their units, when routers are attacked, they will turn around and fight their pursuers. So we're going to take some unnecessary casualties there. So I think that's pretty bad mechanics there, but what can you do, right? So that second army of the Germans is coming in here, their reinforcing army. Our catapults are shooting into the big mass of their troops. They're managing to rack up some pretty decent casualties, but we are going to have to fight them toe-to-toe soon enough. So it looks like I'm repositioning my skirmishers here. I'm trying to get all of my fresher troops with the numbers to stand on the front lines, to the front lines. And then I haven't done anything with my left flank here, so I'm going to bring this wing of troops here around here. We're going to surround these guys, and we're going to envelop them on two sides. It's going to be a total envelopment, but we're taking some pretty heavy casualties right here. Our horsemen have pretty much died completely just chasing down routers. But I'm trying to keep their armies from rallying, because I think yeah, there's enough of them left that if they did that, they would definitely break us. We just don't have the troops to do it, to fight them toe to toe for a long period of time. We're just so badly outnumbered. So our Our catapults are shooting into the backs of these guys, and I'm trying to get them to not kill our horses. I think we managed to miss our horses there, so lucky us. No, we did manage to peg some of our horses, so they're going to take some more casualties. Our poor Gaulish horsemen. Yeah, our auxiliaries are not having a good time of it, so we're going to throw all of our melee troops in here. We're going to throw the remnants of our horses into the fray. I think we lost one of our cohorts completely, or they've started to rout. So we're going to be pretty under strength for the next battle that comes up. And this is a very tragic episode, because we win this great victory and then some bad things happen to us later. So you guys are going to have to watch and see what those are. It looks like our catapults are out of ammunition. They have done their job. I'm sure they've gotten many kills throughout the course of this battle, and I'm reluctant to throw my horsemen in there because I know that they're taking such terrible casualties, but we need to completely destroy this army, so I think I end up actually throwing them back in. Yeah, there's just a huge amount of routers there, and all my troops are too tired to catch them. Look at this, it's just massive, just a huge amount of them. Like, this is what an ancient rout would look like, just hundreds of men just all running at once. So I think I actually cut it there. We run down, as you can see, most of their troops. Some of them managed to get away, but at this point we've taken such terrible casualties amongst our legionaries that our army is not combat effective anymore, so we need to get out of there. So we've run those two groups of guys off here. But yeah, our town here gets attacked at the same time. Although it doesn't look like the enemy is too interested in actually taking the town. They're just screwing with the garrison because they can. So they actually do kill the garrison, but they don't touch the town until later, I think. Yeah. Decisive defeat. Yeah, they just pillaged it. They didn't actually take it. They got an imminent rebellion here. So up north in the Germanic lands, things are not going well for us. I think yeah, Caesar got injured in an assassination, so we're not actually going to have him for our army, which is a very big problem because he's the one holding our troops together, and he's pretty beefy at this point. It's like his general's bodyguard is nothing to sneeze at. So we're going to need him, but we're not going to have him. So things are just not looking good for Legio Gallica. Or Legio Gallica. It's not good. Not good at all. So we are surrounded, basically, as you can see here, by hostile German tribes. Our commander has been wounded. Our troops are practically non-existent. We've got maybe 3 cohorts out of our 9 that are combat effective. We are in some serious trouble, so we need to get out of here, and I know that we have to get out of here. So I'm going to try and get them back to the town, back into to friendly territory, so that they can continue to get some more reinforcements. But it doesn't look like the enemy is going to let us do that. So I believe we lost a territory earlier. I can't remember if that was the last episode or not, but we are being slowly pushed back here on the Germanic front. We've got a reinforcement army down here, which we desperately need, but we have no other options to recruit our troops. So our main recruiting station is going to come from down here. We've got a decent amount of money, a decent amount of income, so what I think I realized what we need to do is to start raising some more armies. So back to the history. Now the Belgae, they come out and they make all the supplicatory gestures, and all of their old men are out there and they're prostrating themselves before Caesar. It's just generally an embarrassing affair for the Belgae, who were had the reputation for being the bravest of these Belgic tribes. Apparently, Caesar says that about everybody. But their plea was supported by Dibiacus of the Aeduans, who, after the retreat of the Belgae, had disbanded the Aeduan forces and returned to Caesar. He said that the Belgae had always lived under the friendly protection of the Aedui until their leading men induced them to sever connection and take up arms against Rome. By telling them that the Aedui were enslaved to Caesar and had to they were humiliated and stuff like that, so blah 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 blah. And the people responsible for the adoption of this policy, according to Dibiacus, have now realized what a calamity they have brought upon their country and have fled to Britain. To the prayers of the Belgae we Aeduans add our own, begging you to treat them with your usual clemency and humanity. By doing so, you will enhance our prestige with all the Belgic tribes, because obviously they have Caesar's ear and they just saved them from annihilation. So, yeah, if you want protection from the Romans, big power, rising power in the south, come to the Aeduans, because they're buddy-buddy. So yes, I can see that enhancing their position amongst the tribes of Gaul. Some of them, anyway. But Caesar says he will spare the Belgae and accept their submission out of respect for Dibiacus and the Aedui. And since this is a very large tribe, excuse me, I believe Caesar actually extracts like 600 hostages from them or something obscene like that. And these are going to be women, these are going to be probably not women, but children, sons, that sort of thing. Prominent members of the citizenry, that sort of thing. So it looks like we had our movement sabotaged here by a spy. So we are still caught out in the middle of enemy territory. Our troops have been decimated by attrition over time. So, and we're not regenerating them at a quick enough rate in order to have our combat strength and army back. So we're in some serious trouble. So after conquering, I guess, or pacifying the Belgae, Caesar moves on to the country of the Ambiani, who had once surrendered to the Romans unconditionally. And the Ambiani are neighbors of the Nervii. Now, these guys are really cool. The Ambiani were the neighbors of the Nervii, about whose characters and habits Caesar made inquiry. He learned that they did not admit traders into their country, which would allow the importation of wine or other luxuries, because they believed that it made men soft or something. I believe the German tribes, according to Caesar, have a similar philosophy, so that could be... yes. Now, this is a battle that we should have just stayed away from. I really think that we should have stayed away from this entirely with our larger army, or we should have just... we should have played it a little better. But you'll see what happens. In the meantime, we'll get back to some more history. But as I was saying, I believe the Germans across the Rhine had a similar philosophy that wine makes men weak, or some malarkey like that. But that's I believe they actually live closest, or they live very, very close to the German tribes across the Rhine. So that could be a reason why they had this belief. But anyway, after 3 days' march through Nervian territory, Caesar learns from prisoners at the river Sambre, that the river Sambre was not more than about 10 miles from the place when he was encamped, and that all of the Nervian troops were posted on the far side of it, awaiting the arrival of the Romans. Already with them in the field were their neighbors, the Atrebates and the Viromandui, who they had persuaded to try the fortune of war along with them. So this is a very large Gallic force against Caesar and his much smaller force of legionaries. And to add to the pain in the ass that these Nervii were presenting to Caesar, they were expecting to be joined by forces of another tribe called the Atuatuki, who were already on their way to make themselves a nuisance. And they had the Nervii and all their allied tribes had hastily thrust their women and their children and people too old to fight into marshy areas which were inaccessible to an army. So they don't have to worry about their baggage train, I guess, being captured with like all of their women and children and their families and that sort of thing. So these guys they're out there and they're ready to fight, and they don't really have a whole lot of concerns in terms of what the rest of their family is doing, because they know that they're safe. So on receiving this information, Caesar sends forward a reconnaissance party accompanied by some of his centurions to choose a good site for a camp. A large number of Gauls, including some of the Belgae who had surrendered, attached themselves to Caesar's legion and were marching with the troops. Probably a bad idea, because as it turns out, these troops betray Caesar to the Nervii and tell him sort of like the formation in which his army is marching, so they can plan an ambush. So the Nervii decided this is a great idea. And an important thing to note about the Nervii is that they actually have no cavalry, or practically no cavalry. I mean, they have some, but it's not a significant part of their army. So to counter this, because the Celtic Gauls had a very strong tradition of horsemen and horsemanship, they came up with a fairly cunning method of making like large hedges out of like the tops of like spruce trees and like bending them over and then like putting them into a large bend and then putting like thorns and bramble and stuff in the middle of them, so it makes like a big impenetrable hedge that you can't be seen through, and then enemies can't really get through because it's so thick. So with this in mind, the Nervii used this tactic to block the march of the Roman army, and they thought that this plan of ambush that they had was probably too good to leave untried, because this could allow them to crush the Roman army in basically a single battle. So at the place that the Romans had chosen for their camp, a large hill sloped down evenly from its summit to the river Sambre. Opposite it, on the other side of the river, rose another hill with a similar gradient on the lower slopes of which were like some 300 yards of open ground. while the upper part was covered by a wood which is not easy to see into. In this wood, the main part of the Gaulish force lay concealed, while on the open ground along the riverbank, a few pickets of cavalry were visible, probably hoping to draw the Romans into an unfavorable position, so they could possibly even attack them while they're crossing the river. So the depth of the river was at this point was about 3 feet, which would be very difficult to fight in, especially very difficult to fight in a formation in. So Caesar had sent his cavalry a little in advance and was following with the rest of his forces, but the column was formed up in a different manner from which the Belgic deserters had described to the Nurii. In accordance with his usual practice when approaching an enemy, Caesar had marched at the head of the column with 6 legions unencumbered by heavy baggage. So he's got a pretty significant force right in the front. He's prepared. And following him came the transport of the entire army, protected by the 2 newly enrolled legions which Caesar had brought up in the rear to protect the baggage. So what I'm taking from this is that he's got his veteran legions in the front. So we'll take a little look at the battle here. So it looks like our troops have finally managed to make it here, although they've run the whole way, so I believe they're actually tired. What I'm not really paying attention to right now is the clock. I'm just moving my troops in here. I've got the extra super speed on because it's taken a long time to move my troops across this battlefield, and I want to get there before they can take the city. And unfortunately, I'm not paying enough attention, and we're probably going to lose the city because of this, because I'm not paying enough attention here, and I'm not sending cohorts in to try and contest that flag, which I could probably do. So I'm bringing in all my cavalry from behind. I'm going to hit them and hit the Gauls here at multiple points. But unfortunately, they've got some reinforcements coming up the back there, some Lancers of Woden. I think they've got like 2 units of them. So even if I surround them, I don't even think I have the troops to destroy them completely. Like, those 2 units could probably break my army and destroy everybody. So that's a big problem here. Even though we've lost the battle, even though we are destroying the enemy army. So that is the end of Caesar and Gaul. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I apologize for the long wait. Some crazy stuff has been happening. I'll get into that later, but I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will see you again probably in Vampire or a new historical battle, because I think it's about time we finish off that series, or the mini series anyway.